Welcome to the Reality Revolution. Today I'm going to read and discuss an amazing revelation that I found that comes from the Divine Pymander, and we're going to talk about hermeticism and Hermes and an ancient text that goes over Hermes' discussions with the mind of God. One of my favorite episodes on the channel is when I read the Hermetica, called The Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs. And it's this amazing text written by Hermes. Hermeticism is incredibly wonderful to study. You'll find it in the tarot, in the spirituality of the New Age, in the scientific revolution. Perhaps it can't be easily explained in a 30-minute episode on YouTube, but we have discussed this before. In the annals of ancient history, there are few figures as enigmatic and revered as Hermes Trismegistus, often referred to as the thrice great Hermes. This legendary figure has captivated the minds of scholars, mystics, and seekers of wisdom for centuries. Associated with the domains of alchemy, astrology, philosophy, and esoteric knowledge, he embodies the synthesis of various ancient traditions, presenting a profound synthesis of spiritual and intellectual wisdom that you'll find in the Bible, as well as Buddhism and other places. The origin of Hermes Trismegistus is shrouded in the mists of time, making it challenging to separate historical fact from myth and legend. The name itself, Hermes Trismegistus, derives from the combination of two revered ancient figures, Hermes, the Greek god of communication, commerce, and eloquence, and Thoth, the Egyptian deity associated with writing, magic, and wisdom. By combining these two figures, a new archetype emerged, one that transcended cultural boundaries and encompassed a universal understanding of divine knowledge. Hermes Trismegistus is traditionally credited as the author of the Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of texts believed to contain the wisdom and teachings of the thrice great Hermes. And what I want to do is read from one of the texts from the Corpus Hermeticum. These texts, written in Greek and dating back to the early centuries of the Common Era, explore a wide range of topics including cosmology, theology, philosophy, and spiritual practices. They provide insights into the nature of the universe, the workings of the human mind, and the path to spiritual enlightenment. One of the central tenets of these teachings is the concept of as above, so below. This principle suggests there is a profound interconnectedness between the macrocosm of the universe and the microcosm of the individual. It implies that the laws and patterns governing the celestial realms are reflected in the human psyche and the natural world. This notion of correspondence and harmony resonates with many philosophical and spiritual traditions, hinting at a fundamental truth that transcends cultural and temporal boundaries. Alchemy, another domain intimately associated with Hermes Trismegistus, encompasses both transmutation of base metals into gold and the spiritual transformation of the individual. Alchemists view their work in the laboratory as a metaphor for the inner alchemical process wherein the seeker strives to purify and refine their own being, transmuting base qualities into spiritual gold. His alchemical teachings delve into the symbolic language of the elements, minerals, and processes, guiding the seeker on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual evolution. Astrology, too, finds its roots intertwined with Hermes Trismegistus's legacy. The thrice great Hermes is regarded as the progenitor of astrological knowledge, and his teachings emphasize the interconnectedness of the celestial bodies and the human experience. Astrology in the Hermetic tradition serves as a tool for self-reflection, not necessarily divination. It's a language through which the individual can understand their unique place in the cosmic tapestry. By studying the movements and configurations of the planets, one can gain insights into their personality, life events, and even the potential for spiritual growth. The influence of Hermes Trismegistus extends far beyond the realms of alchemy and astrology. His teachings have permeated various spiritual traditions throughout history, leaving an indelible mark on Western esotericism, Renaissance philosophy, and even modern occult practices. During the Renaissance, the Corpus Hermeticum was discovered and translated, sparking a resurgent interest in Hermetic philosophy. Figures such as Marsilio Ficino and Giordano Bruno drew inspiration for Hermes Trismegistus, integrating Hermetic principles into their philosophical and mystical works. The Hermetic tradition also influenced the development of Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism, two influential esoteric movements that I have discussed on the channel in several episodes. In modern times, the influence of Hermes continues to be felt in diverse spiritual and philosophical circles. Hermetic principles have informed the works of renowned thinkers such as Carl Jung, who drew parallels between alchemical processes and psychological transformation. Moreover, Hermetic ideas have found expression in New Age and alternative spiritual movements where seekers draw upon the wisdom of Hermes to explore metaphysical concepts, inner transformation, and spiritual growth. The figure of Hermes Trismegistus represents the pursuit of wisdom, the merging of diverse traditions, and the profound understanding that lies at the heart of humanity's quest for meaning. Now, we could talk for days and days about Hermes and Hermeticism, and perhaps we will, but I was uniquely inspired to read from the Poemander, the Divine Revelation and Spiritual Translation, in which Hermes Trismegistus has a conversation with the mind of God. It's as simple as that. It may be somewhat complicated or hard to understand, but it has some sort of energetic quality to it. Almost in reading it, it feels like magic. As you listen to it, it seems to incite or inspire visions and understandings within you that may not make sense with the narrative, but it seems to be uniquely powerful. And that's what we're going to read today. The Poemander, also known as the Shepherd of Men, is one of the most significant texts within the Corpus Hermeticum. It presents a dialogue between Hermes Trismegistus and the divine being of the same name, through which divine revelation and spiritual transformation are exposed. The Poemander begins with Hermes Trismegistus expressing his desire to know the nature of the divine and the origin of all things. In response, the divine being Poemander appears and imparts knowledge and wisdom to Hermes, leading him on a transformative journey of spiritual awakening. The text presents a visionary encounter wherein Hermes is elevated to a higher state of consciousness, allowing him to commune with the divine and receive profound revelations. This transformative experience serves as a blueprint for spiritual seekers, illustrating the path to enlightenment and liberation. One of the central themes of the Poemander is spiritual transformation. Through his encounter with Poemander, Hermes transcends his limited human perception and attains union with the divine mind. This transformative journey reflects the Hermetic belief in the potential of every individual to undergo a similar awakening and ascend to higher levels of consciousness. The Poemander emphasizes the importance of inner purification and the cultivation of virtues as essential steps in the journey of spiritual transformation. It highlights the need to transcend the limitations of the material world, including attachments, desires, and the illusions of the ego, to align oneself with the divine will and attain gnosis, or direct knowledge of the divine. The text explores the idea that ignorance and forgetfulness of one's divine origin are the root causes of human suffering. It suggests that through the process of spiritual awakening and remembering, individuals can reclaim their true nature and regain their connection with the divine. The Poemander also delves into the nature of the universe and the divine order. It presents a cosmological vision wherein the divine mind, referred to as the nous, acts as the architect of creation, bringing forth the cosmos and all its inhabitants. Remember, we've heard that word before in my episode on the nous atom, which is described as the individual atom that exists within the heart that stays with you through all your incarnations. The vision aligns with ancient Egyptian belief in a divine creator and the Greek philosophical concept of the logos, the divine reason that governs the universe. Through the dialogue between Hermes and Poemander, the Poemander expounds upon the nature of the soul, its journey through the realms, and its ultimate reunion with the divine. It discusses the existence of various realms or spheres that the soul traverses in its evolutionary process, each offering opportunities for growth, learning, and self-realization. The Poemander teaches that the path of spiritual transformation involves not only intellectual understanding, but also direct experiential knowledge, emphasizing the importance of spiritual practices, contemplation, and inner reflection as a means to attain direct communion with the divine. Moreover, the Poemander reveals the interplay between the divine and the material world. It suggests that the divine mind, in its act of creation, establishes a harmonious order that permeates all aspects of existence. This divine order serves as a guide for individuals on their spiritual journey, leading them to align themselves with the divine will and participate in the unfolding cosmic plan. The text also touches upon the concept of divine providence, suggesting that the divine being is actively involved in the affairs of the world and holds a benevolent intention towards humanity. It implies that all events and experiences, even those that appear challenging or negative, serve a higher purpose and are a part of a larger divine plan. Throughout the Poemander, symbolism plays a significant role in conveying deeper truths and insights. It employs allegorical language, metaphors, and vivid imagery to convey spiritual concepts and principles. These symbolical elements invite the reader to engage in contemplation and inner reflection, encouraging a deeper understanding of the text's teachings. The Poemander is a profound and transformative text within the Corpus Hermeticum. It offers a visionary journey through divine revelation, guiding seekers on the path of spiritual transformation and enlightenment. Through its teachings and inner purification, the nature of the universe, and the interplay between the divine and material world, the Poemander provides a roadmap for individuals to awaken to their divine nature, attain gnosis, and participate consciously in the unfolding of the cosmic order. The wisdom contained within the Poemander continues to inspire and guide spiritual seekers to this day, inviting them to embark on a spiritual journey of self-discovery and union with the divine. This has been referred to as the Poemander or also the Divine Pymander. Just stick with me as I read this. Parts of it you may not understand, but understand that something energetic is happening as I read it, and simply observe your consciousness as you listen. The second book, called Poemander, the Divine Pymander. My thoughts, being once seriously busied about things that are, and my understanding lifted up, all my bodily senses being exceedingly holden back, as it is with them that are heavy of sleep, by reason either of fullness of meat or of bodily labor, methought I saw one of an exceedingly great stature and of an infinite greatness call me by my name, and say unto me, What wouldst thou hear and see? Or what wouldst thou understand to learn and know? Then said I, Who art thou? I am, quoth he, Poemander, the mind of the great Lord, the most mighty and absolute Emperor. I know what thou wouldst have, and I am always present with thee. Then I said, I would learn the things that are, and understand the nature of them, and know God. How? Said he. I answered that I would gladly hear. Then said he, Have me again in thy mind, and whatsoever thou wouldst learn, I will teach thee. When he had thus said, he was changed in his idea or form, and straightway in the twinkling of an eye all things were opened unto me. I saw an infinite sight. All things were become light, both sweet and exceedingly pleasant, and I was wonderfully delighted in the beholding it. But after a little while there was a darkness made in part coming down obliquely, fearful and hideous, which seemed unto me to be changed into a certain moist nature, unspeakably troubled, which yielded a smoke as from fire, and from whence proceeded a voice unutterable and very mournful, but inarticulate, inasmuch as it seemed to have come from the light. Then from that light a certain holy word joined itself unto nature, and out flew the pure and unmixed fire from the moist nature upwards on high. It was exceeding light and sharp and operative withal. And the air, which was also light, followed the spirit and mourned up to fire from the earth and the water, insomuch that it seemed to hang and depend upon it. And the earth and the water stayed by themselves, so mingled together that the earth could not be seen for the water, but they were moved because of the spiritual word that was carried upon them. Then said Poemander unto me, Dost thou understand this vision and what it meaneth? I shall know, said I. Then said he, I am that light, the mind, thy God, who am before that moist nature that appeared out of darkness, and that bright and lightful word from the mind is the Son of God. How is that? Quoth I. Thus replied he, Understand it, that which in thee seeth and heareth the word of the Lord, and the mind, the Father, God, differ not one from the other, and the union of these is life. Trismeg, I thank thee, Pymander, but first conceive well the light in thy mind and know it. When he had said thus, for a long time we looked steadfastly one upon the other, insomuch that I trembled at his idea or form. But when he nodded to me, I beheld in my mind the light that is innumerable, and the truly indefinite ornament or world, and that the fire is comprehended or contained in or by a great moist power and constrained to keep its station. These things I understood seeing the word or Poimander, and when I was mightily amazed, he said again unto me, Hast thou seen in thy mind that archetypal form that was before the interminated and infinite beginning? Thus Poimander to me, but whence, quoth I, or whereof are the elements of nature made? Poimander of the will and counsel of God, which taking the word and beholding the beautiful word in the archetype thereof, imitated it, and so made this world by the principles and vital seeds, or soul-like production of itself. For the mind being God, male and female life and light, brought forth by his word, another mind or workman, which being God of the fire and the spirit, fashioned and formed 7 other governors, which in their circles contain the sensible world, whose government or disposition is called fate or destiny. Straightway leaped out, or exalted itself, from the downward elements of God, the word of God, into the clean and pure workmanship of nature, and was united to the workman mind, for it was consubstantial, and so the downward born elements of nature were left without reason, that they might only be matter. But the workman mind, together with the word containing the circles and whirling them about, turned round as a wheel his own workmanship, and suffered them to be turned from an indefinite beginning to an indeterminable end, for they always begin where they end. And the circulation or running round of these, as the mind willeth, out of the lower or downward born elements, brought forth unreasonable or brutish creatures, for they had no reason, the air-flying things and the water, such as swim. And the earth and the water were separated either from the other, and the mind would, and the eagle brought forth from herself such living creatures as she had, 4-footed and creeping beasts, wild and tame. But the Father of all things, the mind, life and light, brought forth man-like into himself, whom he loved his proper birth, for he was all beauty, having the image of his Father. For indeed God was exceedingly enamored of his own form or shape, and delivered unto it all own workmanships. But he, seeing and understanding the creation of the workman in the whole, would needs also himself fall to work, and so was separated from the Father, being in the sphere of generation or operation. Having all power, he considered the operation or workmanship of the 7, but they loved him, and every one made him partaker of his own order. And he learned diligently, and understanding their essence and partaking their nature, resolved to pierce and break through the circumference of the circles, and to understand the power of him that sits upon the fire. And having already all power of mortal things, of the living and the unreasonable creatures of the world, stooped down and peeped through the harmony, and breaking through the strength of the circles, so showed and made manifest the downward born nature, the fair and beautiful shape or form of God, which when he saw, having in itself unsatiable beauty in all the operation of the 7 governors, and the form or shape of God, he smiled for love as if he had seen the shape or likeness in the water or the shadow upon the earth of the fairest human form. And seeing in the water a shape like unto himself, in himself he loved it, and would cohabit with it, and immediately upon the resolution ensured the operation, and brought forth the unreasonable image or shape. Nature, presently laying hold of what it so much loved, did wholly wrap herself about it, and they were mingled, for they loved one another. And from this cause, man above all things that live upon earth is double, mortal because of his body, and immortal because of the substantial man. For being immortal and having power of all things, he yet suffers mortal things, and such as are subject to fate or destiny. And therefore, being above all harmony, he is made and become a servant to harmony. He is hermaphrodite, or male and female, and watchful. He is governed by the subjected to a father that is both male and female and watchful. After these things I said, Thou art my mind, and I am in love with reason. Then said Poimander, This is the mystery that to this day is hidden and kept secret, for nature, being mingled with man, brought forth a wonder most wonderful, for he having the nature of the harmony of the seven, from whom I told thee, the fire and the spirit, nature continued not, but forthwith brought forth 7 men, all males and females, and sublime or on high, according to the natures of the 7 governors. And after these things, O Poimander, quoth I, am not come into the great desire and longing to hear, do not digress or run out. But he said, Keep silence, for I have not yet finished the first speech. Trism, behold, I am silent. Pim, the generation therefore of these 7 was after this manner, the air being feminine and the water desirous of copulation, took from the fire its ripeness, and from the ether spirit, and so nature produced bodies after the species and shape of men. And man was made of life and light unto soul and mind, of life the soul, of light the mind. And so all the members of the sensible world continued unto the period of the end, bearing rule and generating. Hear now the rest of that speech thou so much desireth to hear. When that period was fulfilled, the bond of all things was loosed and united by the will of God, for all living creatures, being hermaphroditical or male and female, were loosed and united together with man, and so the males were apart by themselves and the females likewise. And straightways God said to the holy word, Increase in increasing and multiplying in multitude all you my creatures and workmanships, and let him that is endured with mind know himself to be immortal, and that the cause of death is the love of the body, and let him learn all things that are. Then he had thus said, Providence by fate of harmony made the mixtures and established the generations, and all things were multiplied according to their kind. And he that knew himself came at length to the substantial of every substantial good. But he that through the error of love loved the body abideth wandering in darkness, sensible sufferings the things of death. Trism, but why do they that are ignorant sin so much, that they should therefore be deprived of immortality? Pim, thou seemest not to have understood what thou hast heard. Trism, peradventure, I seem so to thee, but I both understand and remember them. Pim, I am glad for thy sake, if thou understoodest them. Trism, tell me why are they worthy of death? What are in death? Pim, because there goeth a sad and dismal darkness before its body, of which darkness is the moist nature, of which moist nature the body consisteth, to the sensible world from whence death is derived. Hast thou understood this aright? Trism, but why or how doth he that understands himself go pass into God? Pim, that which the word of God said say I, because the Father of all things consists of life and light, whereof man is made. Trism, thou sayest very well. Pim, God and the Father is light and life, of which man is made. If therefore thou learn and believe thyself to be of the light and life, thou shalt again pass into life. Trism, but yet tell me more, O my mind, how shall I go into life? Pim, God and the Father is light and life, of which man is made. If therefore thou learn and believe thyself to be of the life and light, thou shalt again pass into life. Trism. But yet tell me more, O my mind. How shall I go into life? Pim. God saith, let man, endowed with a mind, mark, consider, and know himself well. Trism. Have not all men a mind? Pim. Take heed what thou sayest, for I, the mind, come unto men that are holy and good, pure and merciful, and live piously and religiously, and my presence is a help unto them, and forthwith they know all things, and lovingly they supplicate and propitiate the Father, and blessing him, they give him thanks and sing hymns unto him, being ordered and directed by filial affection and natural love, and before they give up their bodies to the death of them, they hate their senses, knowing their works and operations. Rather, I that am the mind itself will not suffer the operations or works which happen or belong to the body to be finished and brought to perfection in them. But being the porter or doorkeeper, I will shut up the entrances of evil and cut off the thoughtful desires of filthy works. But to the foolish and evil and wicked and envious and covetous and murderous and profane, I am far off, giving place to the revenging demon, which applying unto him the sharpness of fire, tormenteth such a man sensible, and armeth him the more to all wickedness, that he may obtain the greater punishment. And such a one never ceaseth, having unfulfilled desires and unsatisfiable concupiscences, and always fighting in darkness, for the demon always afflicts and tormenteth him continually, and increase the fire upon him more and more. Trism. Thou hast, O mind, most excellently taught me all things as I desired, but tell me, moreover, after the return is made, what then? Pim. First of all, in the resolution of the material body, the body itself is given up to alteration, and the form which it had becometh invisible, and the idle manners are permitted and left to the demon, and the senses of the body return into their fountains, being parts and again made up into operations. And anger and concupiscence go into the brutish or unreasonable nature, and the rest striveth upward by harmony. And to the first zone it giveth the power it had of increasing and diminishing. To the second, the machinations or plottings of evil, and one effectual deceit or craft. To the third, the idle deceit of concupiscence. To the fourth, the desire of rule and unsatiable ambition. To the fifth, profane boldness, and the headlong rashness of confidence. To the sixth, evil and ineffectual occasion of riches. To the seventh zone, subtle falsehood always lying in wait. And then being made naked of all the operations of harmony, it cometh to the eighth nature, having its proper power, and singeth praises to the Father with the things that are, and all they that are present rejoice and congratulate the coming of it, being made like to them with whom it converseth. It heareth also the powers that are above the eighth nature, singing praise to God in a certain voice that is peculiar to them. And then in order they return unto the Father, and themselves deliver themselves to the powers, and becoming powers they are in God. This is the good, and to them that know to be desired. Furthermore, why sayest thou, what resteth, but what understandeth? All men thou become a guide and way leader to them. They are worthy, that the kind of humanity or mankind may be saved by God. When Poimander had thus said unto me, he was mingled among the powers, but I, giving thanks and blessing the Father of all things, rose up, being enabled by him, and taught the nature of the whole, having seen the greatest sight or spectacle. And I began to preach unto men the beauty and fairness of piety and knowledge. O ye people, men born and made of earth, which have given yourselves over to drunkenness and sleep, and to the ignorance of God, be sober and cease your surfeit, whereunto you are allured and visited by brutish and unreasonable sleep. And they that heard me come willingly, and with one accord. And then I said further, Why, O men of the offspring of earth, why have you delivered yourselves over unto death, having power to partake of immortality? Repent and change your minds, you that have together walked in error, and have been darkened in ignorance. Depart from the dark light, be partakers of immortality, and leave or forsake corruption. And some of them that heard me mocking and scorning went away, and delivered themselves up to the way of death. But others, casting themselves down before my feet, besought me they might be taught. But I, causing them to rise up, became a guide of mankind, teaching them the reasons how and by what means they may be saved. And I sowed in them the words of wisdom, and nourished them with the ambrosian water of immortality. And when it was evening, and brightness of the same began wholly to go down, I commanded them to go down. I commanded them to give thanks to God, and they had finished their thanksgiving. Everyone returned to his own lodging. But I wrote in myself the bounty and benevolence of Poimander, and being filled with what I most desired, I was exceedingly glad. For the sleep of the body was the sober watchfulness of the mind, and the shutting of my eyes the true sight, and my silence great with child and full of good, and the pronouncing of my words the blossoms and fruit of all good things. And thus it came to pass, or happened unto me, which I received from my mind, that is, Poimander, the Lord of the Word, whereby I became inspired by God with the truth. For which cause, with my soul and whole strength, I give praise and blessing unto God the Father. Holy is God the Father of all things. Holy is God, whose will is performed and accomplished by his own powers. Holy is God, that determineth to be known and is known by his known, or those that are his. Holy art thou, that by thy word has established all things. Holy art thou, of whom all nature is the image. Holy art thou, whom nature hath not formed. Holy art thou, that art stronger than all power. Holy art thou, that art stronger than all excellency. Holy art thou, that art better than all praise. Accept these reasonable sacrifices from a pure soul and a heart that stretched out unto thee. O unspeakable, unutterable, to be praised with silence, I beseech thee, that I may never err from the knowledge of thee. Look mercifully upon me, and enable me, and enlighten with this grace those that are in ignorance, the brothers of my kind, but thy sons. Therefore I believe thee, and bear witness, and go into the life and light. Blessed art thou, O Father, thy man would be sacrificed with thee, as thou hast given him all power. Now I realize that that was quite complicated, but it's important to learn these ancient texts because there's divine wisdom and power that can be found from this. As I explained before, this is a part of the Corpus hermeticum, and this is a collection of texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. First of all, the text begins with the narrator receiving this sort of divine vision from Poemander, who reveals himself as the divine mind and the creator of all things. Poemander then explains the creation of the world, stating that it was formed from the elements of fire, water, air, and earth, and that God created man in his own image. Man, being a reflection of God, then has the power to create and manipulate the world around him. However, by becoming too attached to the material world, man has forgotten his divine nature and has become subject to death and ignorance. Poemander teaches that to achieve immortality and true knowledge, man must recognize his divine nature and detach himself from the material world. This can be achieved through the cultivation of wisdom, piety, and understanding. The text is also discussing the concept of the eighth sphere, a state of being beyond the seven celestial spheres, which were believed to exist in ancient cosmology, and reaching the eighth sphere is the ultimate goal of spiritual enlightenment. The narrator, having received this divine knowledge, then at the end feels compelled to share it with others and becomes a teacher to those who are willing to listen, and he encourages people to abandon their ignorance and embrace the path of wisdom and immortality. And so then it concludes with a hymn of praise to God, acknowledging the divine power and the narrator's gratitude for the knowledge he has received. In essence, this is a spiritual and philosophical text that encourages you to seek wisdom and understand your divine nature and strive for spiritual enlightenment. And it emphasizes the importance of detaching yourself from the material world and recognize the divine essence within. I would love to know your own interpretations and explanations of some of these aspects of it. Don't run away from esoteric information like this. I sure hope that enough people watch this video so that I can explore some of the other books in the Corpus Hermeticum, because we can discuss these further, and together as sort of a group mind, you will find profound information that goes beyond just the simple spiritual lessons that you can apply and utilize in your spiritual journey. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.